A group for Georgia that underperformed in 2024. Oh, a lot of them did. Newsflash, but one that I'm talking about right now was the offensive line. And that's directly reflected in looking at the running game numbers. Look at how bad they were compared to usual. And why do we say they underperformed? What if the guys just weren't as good? Well, across the line in 2024, you had Tate Ratledge, two-time All-American, one of the most athletic players in this upcoming NFL draft. You had Jared Wilson, someone that's considered the most athletic offensive lineman in this upcoming NFL draft. You had Dylan Fairchild, All-American. You had Ernest Green, a guy who's been around for a few years. You had Micah Morris rotating in. You had all sorts of 4- or 5-star offensive linemen at your disposal, along with a couple All-Americans and guys that are going to be high draft picks for the NFL draft. And they underperformed. So what is to be expected with this 2025 offensive line? People are concerned, hey, what's it going to be? I've been getting questions a lot about what's it going to be. Here's what I think. Ryan Kelly from Dawg Post talking about Georgia's offensive line this coming season. What I think is that, one, it's hard to project because it's going to be a lot of new and the groups are going to be different. But two, it's probably in a better spot than what you think. And you look at spring practice, Monroe Freeling's not practicing. He's dealing with offseason surgery. Drew Bobo, another projected starter, injured. Daniel Calhoun, another projected starter, injured. So Georgia's offensive line this spring is depleted by depth. And Kirby said that he feels like they have 3 deep. I'll get into something that he said about the offensive line earlier this spring practice. But a lot of the guys that are expected to be starters are dealing with injuries. Ernest Green, another player that's expected to be a starter, dealing with the dislocated finger. So he's got a club on his hand, and he's got to deal with that. And that's a difficult thing to do when you're an offensive lineman and you have to use your hands every single play. So it doesn't look good when you look at the spring and say, okay, well, all these guys that are supposed to be the starters are hurt. Where's the experience at? Drew Bobo at center, Micah Morris at guard. We think Daniel Calhoun at guard, and we believe Monroe Freeling and Ernest Green are going to be your starting 5 on the offensive line. Those guys will be the tackles on the outside. They've all played before, right? Except for Daniel Calhoun. He's gotten in some garbage time, but the other guys have rotated in and they've started games. So the first thing you have to say when you say, man, this is going to be a brand new offensive line, what is there to expect? Are they going to be any good? There's so much inexperience. Well, it's actually not true, because one of the things that we know about Georgia, Stacey Searles, was Matt Luke, Kirby Smart, with the offensive line, they rotate those guys heavily. Drew Bobo has started games because of injuries last year. Micah Morris rotated in a lot with Dylan Fairchild, and there were also injuries to Tate Ratledge, so there were more guard reps to be taken in actual game-like settings. Monroe Freeling got to play in 2023 due to injuries. Ernest Green has been in and out of the lineup, injuries himself and starting himself. So these guys have played before, right? It's not just going to be 4 or 5 brand new starters who haven't been out there for significant games. A lot of them have been in significant moments, and a lot of them have started football games. So that's a part where you say, okay, if you're a fan that's worried, if you're a critic that's criticizing, you need to realize what Georgia has done over the years in rotating the offensive line is in preparation for when they lose Xavier Truss, Tate Ratledge, Jared Wilson, all those guys in one offseason. All of that is in preparation for that. And Georgia, in that sense, is prepared for it. Will they be good? That's the TBD. I do think that Micah Morris is someone I want to highlight for a minute. So let's get to that. He's a guy who, well, why couldn't he start over Dylan Fairchild? Why couldn't he start over Tate Ratledge if he's so good? The defensive linemen are praising him and what he's doing in this spring practice. Micah Morris is entering year 5. He's one of the oldest players on the team, has been around at Georgia this entire time, and he's exactly what Kirby Smart wants on this team. Older leaders who care about Georgia and care about winning more than anything else. But he might be one of the strongest players on the team. Or is, according to Jordan Hall, said they were doing some guard pull drills recently and meeting Micah Morris on that. Jordan Hall, a defensive lineman for Georgia, meeting Micah Morris on that it's fun in competition, but it's not fun in terms of having to deal with someone that's that strong. He's getting praise from his teammates. He talked about how important it was for him to stick around and to kind of wait for his turn, how guys like Warren McClendon, Jamari Salyer, let me just pull up what he had to say. He said, I would say that it's pretty crucial, especially for my development, talking about sticking around, just being able not only to get some quality moments, but learn from each other, learning from Broderick Jones, Warren McClendon, Warren Erickson, Tate Ratledge, Justin Schaefer, guys like that. So he can pick apart different things from all of their games and he can apply it to his. And now he's going to be considered he is one of the leaders on this football team. He is going to be looked upon, I imagine, this coming season when there's 4 captains in those games, they're walking in the middle. I imagine Micah Morris is going to be a captain more than once this coming year. I'd be surprised if that's not the case. You're going to see Oscar Delp do that. You're going to see Dalen Everett. You're going to see Micah Morris. You might see Gunnar Stockton do it. Guys that have been around for a few years and understand Georgia and are leaders on this football team. So the group is not without leaders. It's not without experience because of those players. And there's 2 ways that you can look at the fact that, okay, all these guys are injured. There is good and bad. I'll deliver the bad first. The bad is that the projected starting group, there's kind of twofold in the bad, but I do think that the good can outweigh it if you want to look at it that way. So the twofold in the bad, the projected starting group / figuring out your starting group becomes more difficult because they're not playing together, right? Monroe Freeling's not out there. Drew Bobo dealing with an injury. Daniel Calhoun, someone that is entering year 2 and people think is going to be the starter at one of the guard spots. He's not out there. It becomes more difficult to say, okay, well, how do we know this is our best lineup and how do we get them ready to play together as a unit of 5? Yes, that is the bad. And I do agree that makes things difficult. And then fall camp, there's a little bit more pressure on that. And summer workouts, there's a little bit more pressure on developing all that. The good you can look at it is they're going to get to continue to do what they've been doing the last few years, which is get guys more experience and get guys more reps and just keep preparing and making sure that they have offensive linemen that are ready. They scrimmaged the other day. Drew Bobo didn't play. Obviously, Monroe Freeling didn't play. Obviously, Daniel Calhoun didn't play. That means Malachi Tolliver got reps at center. That means Michael Uni got reps at guard, at tackle. Bo Hughley, Jamal Merriweather, Jazeer Jackson. That means all of those guys who are projected to be on the second unit got to play significant first-team reps and are getting to play significant first-team reps in spring football. They get to develop that depth. What does that do for them? One, if someone gets hurt, they know that they can throw someone out there and they're not going to be unprepared necessarily. Now, it's different. Let's say they get thrown out there against a Texas or an Ole Miss, right? They have good defensive linemen. That's a little bit different story. But that means that they're also going to feel more comfortable rotating when the season rolls around. They'll be more comfortable rotating these players and preparing them to come in and play in the second quarter. Hey, Michael Morris needs a breather. Okay, Michael Uni, you go in there and get that. That's what Georgia wants on the offensive line. They want to be able to rotate it like they have been doing the last few seasons. And so as bad as it is, and I agree, it's not great that projected starters are not practicing during the spring. It's something that happens a lot, not just at the offensive line room. But I do think that it gives an opportunity for younger players to step up, to get some reps, to get better. And it will give Kirby and Stacey Searles and Mike Bobo a little bit more ease when saying, okay, someone may get hurt in September, someone may get hurt in October, or hey, we want to rotate them a lot. Them getting extra reps this spring is going to make that easier for their decision-making, easier for their mind, because they know that they have gotten reps and that is something that they want to continue as a pipeline. So I think Georgia's offensive line is probably in better shape than what people think. But yes, there are pros and cons to what's going on right now, but we're hearing good things about it. Thanks for watching.